Hello guys, welcome to this tutorial. So in this tutorial we are going to talk about control structures in JavaScript. And please, before we jump into that, make sure you have already subscribed to my channel. Thanks if you have already done that. Now let's move forward and talk a bit about control structures in JavaScript. So control structures, let's just say that this concept of control structure is very important, okay, as far as programming is concerned. That's it, because sometimes you may need to check a condition, that is, if then do this, if not then do that, or you need something like a loop to go through arrays or something like that, and then of course, so it's very important to understand the control structures as far as a programming language is concerned, not only in JavaScript, okay. And before we jump into that, as you can see there, I have my text editor, and then I have my browser, okay, and then my browser sync, which actually helps me to reload my page without me reloading it each time from there. So as I'm just save the changes, then it reloads the page automatically, okay. So the control structures within JavaScript allow the program flow to change within a unit of code or function, okay. So these statements can determine whether or not given statements are executed and provide the basis for the repeated execution of a block of code, okay. So now most of the statements listed, as we're going to see, are the so-called conditional statements that can operate either on a statement or on a block of code, okay, enclosed within braces. So the structure provided by the use of conditional statements utilize the booleans to determine whether or not a block gets executed. So in this use of booleans, any defined variable that is neither 0 nor an empty string will be evaluated as true, okay. So now let's talk a bit about the if, okay. So the if statement is straightforward, okay, it's very straightforward. So if the given expression is true, the statement or statements will be executed, otherwise are skipped. Okay, so we have if, that is to take some condition, okay. So we have if something, then do something, okay. So you can say that if, let me just declare a variable called x equals to 4, okay, and then a variable y equals to 8, and then semicolon, okay, something like this. Then I can just say if y equals to x, then do something. I can just say document dot write great, or something like true, okay. Remember from our previous tutorial we saw something like this. So that's how the if actually works, okay. So you just check, is, as we said, it's straightforward, okay. You just check, is this, is y equals to x in only data, not the type, okay. So remember the double equal, not the triple one, okay. So if it's the case, then true. Let's go ahead and see what it shows in our browser. You see there's nothing there because actually x is not equal to y, okay. But let's check for the difference, okay. Is x different from y? Then you see here we have true, okay. So that's how the if actually works. So the if statement may also consist of multiple parts incorporating else and else if, okay. These keywords are part of the if statement and identify the code blocks of that are executed if the preceding condition is false. So that means if it's not the case, we can have something like else. If, okay, if something, that is, if that first condition is false, then try to check this one, maybe it will work, or if not, then maybe we should skip and then again I'll write something like this. Okay, so that is if else, if what, you can just check if y is instead greater than 5. Okay, here I can say if y is equal to x, and then here I can say if y is greater than 5, then write y is greater than 5. Okay, so you can put the else if, that is if this one is not true, then try this one. If it's not true, you can of course chain many else if. Okay, there's no problem with that. So you can just do something like this and then write some code here. You can chain, and then finally you have an else. That means if none of above, okay, was true, then just jump into this. That's how the else, the if actually works. So only one within this, either this or this or this or this will be executed, not all. Okay, not all. So when one is true, no matter the remaining one, then you just do the first one and then skip the second one if it's true. But normally it should not be. You cannot put two conditions that okay, that should be satisfied to confuse the IQ. But if you want to do that, you can instead use if, something like this. If do this, okay. And if you want to check another condition independently from the previous condition, you can just do something like if again, okay, like this separately. Okay, if do this, if again do this, and so on. So I hope you got the point from for the if. Let's go ahead and talk a bit about the while. Okay, we also have the while. All right, we have while and then something, sorry, okay, while something like this. While maybe I can just say while x is greater than 4, let me just say while x is greater than 8 or less, since x is okay, while x is less than 8, then you can just do something there. Okay, do something and then you can maybe increment, okay, say like x plus plus. All right, so let's do something like document dot write, can just print the value of x. Okay, let's go ahead and see what it shows. You see here we have 4 5 6 7. Of course it just put everything at the same place because there's no something like a break line. Let me just put a break line there. Okay, of course we have this. You see here we have 4 5 6 and 7. So what the while actually does is what it checks while this condition is true, just do what is inside between these codes, okay, these braces. All right, so we print this and then we increment x by 1. Remember this operator from the operator tutorial. Okay, so that's how the while actually works. Okay, we have also, so if we increment till x will becomes something like 8. If we check is 8 less than 8, no, you just go out of the loop and then continue executing the program. Okay, so we have also the do while. Okay, so now the do while, how does it work? Okay, how does it work? So we have the do while actually do something like this. Okay, so we have some condition here, we have a code here and then a condition here. I don't know, you can just say x is less or equal than y. Okay, and then we have a code here. So the difference between the do while and the while is that the do executes at least once before start checking the condition, but the while checks the condition first before executing anything. But the do executes once, at least once, before start checking the condition. So that's the only difference. Okay, now let's talk about the for. But let's assume that within the loop okay, or let me just say, let's see the 4 before I'll show you something, okay, I'll tell you something. Let's talk about the 4 before, okay. So for the 4, we have 4 and then we have 3 things, okay, to manage. The first thing is, let me just put A, B and C, okay. So here's A. This A, okay, is an expression, which is actually what? The initial expression. The B is the condition, and the C is the final expression, okay. Let me just put something. Let's just go for practice and then put something useful there, something explicit, okay. Can just say X from 0, so I can just even declare X here like this, and then just say like this, why X is less than, I can just say 7, then increment X, okay. And then of course we have a code here. Now this means for X, that is the initial condition, X starts from 0, and then while that X is less than 7, continue and be incrementing X, okay, till this condition fails, and then we go out of the loop. So that's how the for loop actually works. But the difference between the for loop and the while, you see that the difference there is the for has a limit, as you can see there, but the while, okay, you can like set the limit from the for, but the while is like it goes and then goes till we don't know where to reach, till where something can happen, okay. And then maybe we can have something like, let me just show you, we can have y1. This one is sometimes very useful for infinite loop. So this y1 will means that be executing this for a while, that is forever, okay. But of course we have to break somewhere. So to break, let's just use the keyword break. So this means execute something infinitely till something happen. When that thing happen, then just write this break keyword, okay. So we see the difference between the for. So with the for here we have a limit set to 7, okay. So this break, actually of course you can still use the break within the for, okay. So the till maybe something fails, you just want to break, you don't more want to continue with the loop, you can just use the break keyword, okay. We also have the continue. The continue is to skip one operation, okay. Maybe you are doing something and at some place you want to, something is not okay, you just want to skip, you don't want to execute it, okay. So that's what the continue operators actually does, keyword, okay. So I hope you got the point from that. Also we have the switch, okay, the switch operator. So we have switch, then you're going to switch on what, and then we have cases, okay. We have case 1, then case 1, then do something and then break, okay. It's very straightforward. And then we can have case 2 and then break again. Let me just put something here. We can break on the value of X, okay, that is X. So we have case 2 and then you have something, execute something and then break, okay. So that's how and of course we have the default. Let me just do it and then explain it to you. You have the default and then execute something and then break, okay. So that's the structure of the switch. So what it does is that first it takes a value, okay, as parameters here to check on it, okay, to work on it, okay. It first check if X is equals to 1, then do something here. You can have any code here, okay. You can write anything here, even on multiple line, so there's no problem. You can do something like that and write everything, okay. I hope you got the what I'm trying to say here. So if x equals to 1, do this and then break, that is, go out of the switch. But if x equals to 2, just do something and then break. Default, if x is neither 1 or 2, then just go to the default and then break. Okay, and now the break is very important, even though it seems strange that if x is 1, it will execute, and if you don't put a break, it will then continue. If you don't put the break, it will take even the case of x equals to 2, even if x is not equal to 2. So it's very important to put the break after the execution of any case, so you can have many cases as you want, so there's no problem with that. Okay, of course we can even have a strings, so like something we can say if x equals to, okay, so we can do that on anything. Okay, we can have p m something like that. Okay, just to explain you, so we are actually working with the value of x based on that value. So this case, what follows is actually this x, what should it be, or something like that. Okay, I hope you got the point from there. So that's how the switch actually works. Okay, so that's all about the control structures in JavaScript. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And then as we are going forward, we are going to practice more, okay, so that you get more experience on those switch for and why. Okay, so please don't miss the next tutorial. Thank you guys for watching, and then see you next. Bye.